Hello. Welcome to another edition of Nell at Night. I cannot believe we're at the end of January now. Wow, time goes by so fast. And here we are with some crazy things going on in the world. Lots of upheaval and shifting and transitions. And no matter what your view is of what's happening, whether you're feeling excited or apprehensive about what the future has to hold, there is an undeniable shift. And that, no matter which way you feel about it, can be a little tricky to navigate. So I think that's where we're going to go today in terms of talking about what do we do when things are just moving so fast and there's a lot of turmoil and transitions and shifts. How do we navigate through that? So a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, I had lots of transitions going on in my life and unknowns that were really scary for me. One of the ways that was really helpful for me to navigate through that was for me to find my own internal balance, because I couldn't externally know what was going to happen. I really had to find ways to take care of myself and nurture and center my being, which sounds a little esoteric, and some of you may know what I mean and how to do that for themselves, and others of you may be like, what is she talking about? So in order to explain that in a simpler way, I found things that made me feel safe inside. And those were things that I knew I had control over. And what I mean by that is I began a yoga practice, and I knew that when I was on my mat, it was my place to take care of me. And by taking care of me, I began to feel like I was in charge of something. So there was a sense of self-governance and being in charge of my own thoughts, the way I lived my life, and the things I wanted to do for myself. And what's interesting is this idea of self-governance can be deemed with some political ties. As a matter of fact, David Thoreau talked about it in his book, and there's references to how if we take care of ourselves and we develop ourselves as the person that we want to be, there's less of a need for external controls over our behaviors, because people wouldn't need to be controlled. That's a very lengthy, deep conversation. And to bring it back to how we could apply it to now and for ourselves, the most important thing that I feel was valuable to me was the idea of self-care and taking care of the things we love, including ourselves. So when we begin to nurture who we are and look at ourselves in a very gentle, kind, caring way, we then externally begin to do the same for others. And imagine as we begin to care for ourselves and care for others and care for our planet and care for people, imagine what that would be like. So we don't know what the world is going to do. We don't know what other people are going to do. We don't know a lot of things, but we do know what we can do. We do know how we can act. We know how we can behave and carry ourselves and treat others. And that's the thing that we're in charge of. And as we get and hold on to that power, you'd be amazed at the shifts that could happen. I take that back. You'd be amazed at the shifts that will happen. So I haven't said it yet, but my tip for tonight is to begin to treat yourself and your neighbor and your planet and your home with love and care and respect. Have a good night.